Hey everybody, this is Amazing Fantasy Football. I am Josh, and over there is the Patsy Walker to my Jennifer Walters.
She-Hulk and her best friend.
Hellcat.
Oh, yep. That person. Good evening. Happy Thursday Night Live.
Yeah, how you doing tonight, Chris?
Doing great. I'm doing great. I got some stuff today in regards to the show. Feel great about my notes. Got a couple aesthetics things done. I don't know. Yeah, feeling good. Ready for some football. Little down in the fantasy terms because of, I'm sure we'll get to it here in a minute with the news. There's some injuries going around if you haven't heard lately.
Yep, the fashionable injury is injury. What am I drunk? The fashionable injury is ankle. Ankle is this year's hamstring.
Yeah. It is. So we're dealing with that, but I'm happy to be here as always, and hoping for questions from the audience. If you guys are just showing up, filing in, get on in here. Feel free to listen in for the first part of the show and drop your comments. We like to include them visually in the show, but we also like to save questions for the end. So submit your questions. Discord,
Chris
Twitter.
likes to. I like to break that rule.
Yeah. So I guess what else? How you doing? What you got going?
Chris, and we can follow this, assuming I can keep up with it. Last night, as I was drinking my sorrows away while watching the pitiful White Sox in their very last game of the season, a team who definitely does not deserve to be in the playoffs, I learned that there's such a thing as Sober October. And so this is day one of Sober October. I understand that it's October 6th, but
day
still.
One of Sober October?
For me.
Oh, I see. A few days into October, I see. But you're going to call it. Yeah, that's.
I just found out about it yesterday, and I was drinking yesterday, so give me a break, all right?
Okay. No, it's cool.
I am on day one of Sober October.
Wonderful.
We'll see if I'm not going to adhere to it if I, really have to, but I'm going to check it out. Maybe lower my blood pressure a little bit, maybe lose a little weight because of it. A little sobriety never hurt. Having said that, I wanted to drink really bad while I was at work today because someone in a different department was really testing the limits. Testing the limits.
Like the shtick, though. You're trying to quit smoking cigarettes. You're trying to stay on the wagon and quit drinking. You're trying to, stop shooting up. Oh, that didn't.
That is a thing, but still, it was one of those. I was about ready. I was about like this close to just getting up and walking out, not walking out, but walking out and walking around to kind of blow some steam off because I was not a happy man at one point.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah. Anyway.
But that was then, and this is now, and we're here to talk about some fantasy football, which is hopefully more fun than the middle part of my day at work today.
Couldn't agree more.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, can you give me 2 seconds? Should we BRB or do you want to entertain the masses? I got to do something real quick. It takes 2.5 seconds.
While Chris poops.
It's not that. That's not 2.5 seconds. But yeah,
while
go ahead,
Chris poops, I will say something that I learned just a little bit ago. So, and this is fantasy related. It's not real life. So far in the year, Kyle Pitts has been very, very disappointing. And, I know he has a pretty decent matchup this week, but I think you really need to start thinking about other options of Kyle Pitts. He's played in less than 70% of the team's snaps, and he has yet to score more than 8 fantasy points. That's not a starting tight end. That's a bad tight end. And I know people were spending 3rd and 4th round picks on Kyle Pitts. And hopefully this week you at least started exploring other options. And, maybe you need to keep going with the rest of the show. And we have some tight end guys that you can maybe pick up and play later on in the show. But just Kyle Pitts, man, he is not. This is definitely do or die. This is Chris. I was talking about Kyle Pitts while you were gone, while you were on while you were on the crapper. I can never go to the bathroom that quick.
I was not. Crap.
Anyways, I was talking about Kyle Pitts and how people like this is definitely last week was do or die. This is do or die. Like, are you dropping Kyle Pitts after this week if it's another really, really bad game? I know he was okay for you a couple weeks ago. How did he do for you last week?
Not good at all. Not good at all.
Oh, that's right.
It's basically been the one good game. No touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken. Usage has been less than ideal. Well, I guess usage is maybe not the correct term. The snap percentage, the times in which he is in the game, has been not 80, 90%. Like, I don't understand why. I mean, unless it's a matter of conditioning, and then that's something we could talk about, but that's not what we're being told. No, I'm concerned for sure.
See, I read less than 70%
I think it's
of the
a matter
team snaps,
of coaching
but then
staff, you know.
on this site it says 77.4%. So,
okay. Well,
oh, it was over the last 2 weeks, which that is true. 67% and 62% the last 2 weeks.
So I don't know. I don't know the percentages of him lining up inline tight end versus the slot versus out wide. I think they need.
And you'd have to give me like a half an hour to find that out.
No, I'm just off the top of my head. What I'm concerned about is they're not using him in the way in which they should, all over the field, including as a wide receiver. And the coaching staff is a little run heavy, if you will, and that concerns me. But I don't know. I guess we'll see if the coach lasts. They also don't have a very good team around them. So, but you'd think with a bad defense, they'd be coming back a lot, and there'd be a lot of garbage time and a lot of matchups.
He has a catch rate of 45.5%.
Wow,
that's bad.
I mean,
I think some of that is based on targets, and targets are within 5 yards.
You mean quality of targets?
Yeah, well, I mean, like that's also probably based on targets. Like he was targeted 10% or 10 times in a game, and you only caught like 4.5. You only had 4.5 catches. I know you can't half catch a ball, but you know what I'm saying. You're only catching 45% of the time. Like, how many of those targets were actually quality targets?
Right.
That's it's Marcus Mariota we're talking about here, not vintage Peyton Manning or whatever.
And no offense to Ritter, but I mean, maybe there's just a point in the season where they've lost enough games where they'll finally take a look at Ritter. But I assume
I'm sure they will. But right now, I think
I'm not excited about what they have behind Mariota. Let me put it that way.
I think right now that Ritter is one of those guys that here we are 8 minutes in, and we're talking about the Falcons still. But I think Ritter's one of those guys where they drafted him knowing that he wasn't ready. For sure. He wasn't NFL ready.
Yeah.
I mean, he was really good in college. Don't get me wrong, but they knew that he was he was going to take some time, and they drafted him not to start this year. Unless maybe something happened to Mariota.
Again, something I haven't thought to look up yet, but I'd be interested to see their red zone numbers. Obviously, Pitt's red zone numbers too, because at the very least, he's should be an above average red zone threat. Let me get started with the news, or we'll be here all night. Although it's not that long. All right. We've got Mac Jones, quarterback, Patriots. Ankle, limited practices so far this week.
Yeah, he didn't play last week. Brian Hoyer got put on the IR. I know you were about to get that anyway. So let's bring in some Bailey Zappi.
That's how you say it, right?
Yep. I was watching that game last week, and I was like, this guy is maybe not that great, but I mean,
some people got excited about him. I read online. Some people,
like this is very Brady-esque sort of tale. Like he was like a 5th round pick. He's a rookie this year.
The impression I got from what I've read, let me be clear, I didn't watch the game, was that he
watched part of it.
He had a nice live arm and came in with some moxie, and they liked what they saw, but he didn't play that well. Brian Hoyer is on IR. Oh, he's on IR. I didn't get that update today. From a concussion?
Something, I don't know.
I'm not sure what it was. On to more quarterback news. James,
like that's how much I didn't care. I'm like, I don't care about Brian Hoyer. I care about Bailey Zappi.
Gotcha. More quarterback news. Jameis Winston. Yeah, I'm gonna have to start editing the document before I.
Winnie, that's his nickname.
Well, you already pile drove Kyle Pitts into the ground. I mean, I the first one I saw was the last one, the one about
How he's been pitiful.
Yeah, it's so bad. I was going to delete that, and I was like, I'll just remember to read around it. Anyway, Jameis Winston, back/ankle injuries. Did not practice Thursday.
Didn't play last week either?
Yeah, did not play last week.
I got to say, we'll be talking about him later, but not Andy Dalton, but Andy Dalton played okay last week. I didn't watch the entire game, but I watched part of it. I was like, this isn't bad. Like, I mean, it's Andy Dalton, so he makes some mistakes here and there, but it wasn't atrocious. Just saying.
Gotcha. Brian Robinson Jr., running back for the Washington Commanders. Gunshot
Football
wounds was his illness. I said that on purpose, and it sounded so funny when it came out, and it's still funny to me. Looking like he might play this week. I'm sorry, Mr. Robinson.
It's not funny that he got shot, but the way you said it was comedic.
I'm sorry. Thank you. Okay. Looking like he might play this week. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see if that happens. I think he's just a wait and see. That backfield.
I mean, you're probably not starting him if you have him, but
gosh, I hope not, man. Yeah.
I mean, Antonio Gibson had a pretty good week 1, and it's been pretty downhill ever since.
Bad since, yeah. No, he's a good at dart throw as any. Just I'm not about first week out. J.K. Dobbins chest full practice today. Okay, good for him. Thursday, by the way, folks. Full practice today, Thursday. Javonte Williams, running back for the Denver Broncos as we bury the lead. His season is over due to an ACL/PCL tears. I thought it was LCL.
Okay, I couldn't remember.
Oh, there you go. So it's ACL and LCL tears, meaning very similar injury to the aforementioned J.K. Dobbins last year. In fact, I think they were about a month apart in terms. I think Dobbins happened a month sooner, if I'm not mistaken.
Dobbins was right before the season started, about a week before the season started.
Really?
Okay. Because remember, there was that mad scramble for Tyson Williams, and then he got injured. Or it was a mad scramble for Gus Bradley, and then the next day, Gus Bradley gets an ACL. Then there was that mad scramble for Tyson Williams.
I think it's Gus Johnson, by the way, not the defensive coordinator for your beloved Colts.
I hate Gus Bradley. Yeah, you're right. The Gus bus. Right. And then it was Tyson Williams, and then it ended up being absolutely no one.
This is the best news segment ever. Okay, let's finish before I lose concentration on everything there is. Yeah, I don't know. My 2 quick cents on Javonte is, waivers have already passed, so this is a moot point. But I'm not firmly in camp Boone. And not because of my Gordon hatred, because I think Gordon will be the guy.
You hate Melvin Gordon.
No, I think Gordon would be the guy. I just think that the offense had been struggling until this week. And Gordon had fumbled, in every game but one? 3 out of 4 games? Something like that.
Okay.
So that concerns me. And I don't know, in the few carries that Boone got, it was like 10 per. So I don't know. Again, I didn't spend any fab. I didn't spend much of any fab on either one of them. I was looking elsewhere in terms of waivers. But again, that's a moot point. But that's where I'm at with the Javonte injury. I don't like where the backfield is going.
Yeah, Mike Boone is a perennial third string guy on. But he was like a third, fourth string guy for the Vikings, and he's been that way for the Broncos too. And
I just wonder if he's a better pass catcher than Gordon at this point in their respective careers. I know Gordon's been good. Don't get me wrong. I don't know.
I highly doubt it.
That's a long season. It's a long season.
Yeah. Anyways,
Javonte's out for all of it. Rashad Penny is not out for the whole season. He has a shoulder injury and did not practice Thursday.
Or
DeAndre Swift, or Wednesday. Oh, not practicing. There you go. DeAndre Swift, ankle shoulder, did not practice either Wednesday or Thursday. On to CMC, not practicing due to, quote, rest. This seems to be a weekly thing at this point. David Montgomery, ankle injury, limited practice today. Sounding like he'll miss again this week, but stay tuned. I don't think any fantasy players want to hear that. They want to see Khalil Herbert some more.
I think... Yeah, Khalil Herbert wasn't the bee's knees last week, so
no, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, you can't win them all, but Amon-Ra St. Brown can. He can win all the ones that he plays in, and it's looking like he may not play this week because he has an ankle injury and did not practice Wednesday or Thursday. Rashad Bateman does not play for Lions. He plays for the Ravens. He is also a receiver. He has a foot injury and is not practicing so far this week. He was injured the second half last week and couldn't finish the game. So that's a pretty good indication we should be concerned there. Michael Thomas doing what he does, having a foot injury and not practicing. CD Lamb, this was a late pop-up, I think, today, like several hours ago. CD Lamb groin injury popped up on Thursday, yet to practice this week.
No, he didn't practice yesterday either, so I don't think it popped up today.
But I don't think he had injury designation leaving the game. And it's not unheard of for him to not practice on Wednesdays.
Yeah, that's true.
I got. Gabe Davis, again, gosh, man, more of the same ankle injury. Oh, I'm sorry, full practice this week. There you go. That's a good sign. I just hadn't really put it together yet.
Sounded like he's going to play this week, or he's definitely on track to, at least, I
think they could use him. Treylon Burks. This one was a big disappointment for a guy that was kind of a throw-in on a trade, but Treylon Burks has turf toe. He's expected to miss some time. Quoting Mike Vrabel, their head coach, he's being vague and unclear how much time Burks will miss. So keep that in mind, folks. I dropped it.
I think the Titans also have a bye next week. We didn't mention this with the Lions, but I think the Titans are off next week as well. So I bet Treylon Burks doesn't play this week, hoping that they're probably with them hoping that he's going to be good to go after their bye.
Yeah, and
probably not with a turf toe, but
And I think you touched on it while I was not crapping.
You were crapping.
You said something about bye weeks. Yeah, we should definitely get through the news quickly, save some time in the regular segment of the show.
As we're talking about this,
right? And
in the middle of the news segment, damn it!
Right, and hit on bye weeks, and because I can't remember, is it 6? Is the bye apocalypse? Not 6. Whatever. Anyway, that's Treylon Burks again, turf toe, yada yada yada. Keelan Allen, hamstring, not practicing.
You mean Keenan Allen?
That's not what I said. Keenan. I said Keenan Allen.
You said Keelan.
Did I really?
Yeah.
I said
that's
Keenan
all right.
Peel Allen. Okay, got it. Isaiah McKenzie for the Buffalo Bills, concussion, return to limited practice Thursday. DJ Chark of the aforementioned Lions with buku injuries. DJ Chark ankle got a limited practice in on Thursday, so I think he might go because he has to. Alan Lazard, more ankle injuries to wide receivers, limited practices so far, but he'll be fine. He's been fine for the last, I believe, couple of weeks with his ankle. Brandon Cooks, limited practices due to rest, because he's the entire team. Noah Brown for the Cowboys, the wide receiver for the Cowboys, neck injury, still full practices though. Kyle Pitts has a hamstring injury, not practicing so far this week, and
it doesn't matter because he's been pitiful. Ha ha!
From that, so day 5, you want to kick off with your receivers this week, or?
I suppose I better. I mean, whatever.
Onward and upwards.
Anything's got to be better than watching this Colts Broncos game. It's like two ugly people having a beauty contest.
Dookie. The word is.
Yeah, it's bad. Okay. Okay. So it's week 5, and I'm here to talk about some wide receivers. Chris, you got the running backs this week. Who would you like me to start with? Option number 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5? I guess it doesn't really matter because I'm going to start with Jamar Chase. He's playing the Ravens this week.
Cool.
Chase, he hasn't been very good. He has 16, 9, 10, and 6 targets so far this season. Despite those decent to great numbers, actually, Chase hasn't scored more than 10.1 fantasy points since week 1. And that was with a 23.9 performance. If you were to, and all that makes Chase the wide receiver 15. If you bring that 23.9 down to his weekly average, about 9.5, he would be somewhere in the neighborhood of wide receiver 40 right now. So Chase hasn't been very good. That's why I haven't included him in here. It seemed like maybe a big name, but Chase is getting the Ravens this week, so I think he can do I think he's going to be good for everyone out there that has him on their team. The Ravens did a pretty good job with against the Bills last week, but that was on a pretty rainy afternoon. I know that sometimes that doesn't mean much, but it was, and the Bills were pretty banged up at the wide receiver position as well. So the Ravens are still giving up the second most points to wide receivers too, and Chase has the 13th best wide receiver cornerback matchup per PFF. So I think you should chase those week 1 points from Mr. Chase. You see what I did there?
Beautiful. Keep up the good work, sir. That was A1 dad joke.
I know you like. I know you like dad jokes. Son of a biscuit.
I'm gonna kick things. What would you like? Should I kick things off with my most low hanging fruit or the opposite?
I think you should put the low hanging fruit somewhere in the middle.
Okay. Then I will start with the opposite of the low hanging fruit, and we will go with one Rachaad White. White carried the ball 3 times for only 6 yards, but he did score on the ground. He played a season high 38% of snaps. I know, not impressive. Bear with me. This is my least low hanging fruit, guys. Oh wait, no, it's not. Yeah, no, that's what Josh said. Yeah, no, we're good. He is the least low hanging fruit. You said put the low hanging fruit in the middle. He is not the low hanging fruit. He is the least low hanging fruit. Anyway, he did score on the ground. He played a season high 38% snaps, and more importantly, caught all 5 of his targets for a very efficient 50 yards. But he did fumble on the opening kickoff to set up the Chiefs for their first score. But the fact that the coaching staff came right back to him says, they're over it and that they trust him. I mean, they had him back on kickoffs. That's the type of guy you put back there. You trust his hands. And it was a really close fumble. I'm not saying it wasn't a fumble. It was clearly a fumble. But in terms of the knee being almost on the ground and the position of the body. And hey, if you get points for special teams, there you go. He does return kicks. The Falcons are not particularly... Falcons are who the Buccaneers play this week. The Falcons are not particularly bad versus the run, but that's not why White is one of my fave 5s this week. It's the receiving game. And the fact I think Brady wants to take the helm of this sinking ship. See what I did there? He is getting... They're the Buccaneers.
I know. I was making a joke.
Good one. He is getting a divorce due to, unretiring on his wife there. So I think he wants to throw more. I think he wants to go out in his own terms. I think Bowles, being a defensive-minded head coach, has wanted a more balanced approach, attack, and that's not really working for them as well as they'd hoped. Now that they're getting healthier at wide receiver and are lacking in talent at tight end, like versus last year with Gronk, Rachaad White becomes your James White, and we're off and running. I mean, don't get me wrong. Leonard Fournette's not going anywhere, but we can all agree on 4 things. He doesn't look like the 2021 Leonard Fournette. Fournette has had injury concerns in the past. Rachaad White was a prolific pass catcher in college, 51 career catches in only 15 career games at Arizona State. And rookies tend to get more work and get better as the season goes along. 17 games, folks. I think he'll be on the field more and more, and I think he gives the offense a spark it desperately needs with no Gronk or AB or, perhaps a less than 2021 Fournette out of the backfield. Now, it's important to mention Fournette was still the back for 2-minute situations, both at the end of the half and at the end of the game. But I expect that to change as the weeks go on. And that is my guy. My first guy.
Okay. I'm gonna disagree with you a little bit. I don't know. Personally, I would not play Rachaad White this week. I think it's a good matchup, so I like that. And we will be talking about more Buccaneer players as the night goes along, the show goes along.
I would say this is the desperation flex. Like, remember when I asked which...
I think the 33% snap share that you said, that's what scares me. I think that...
But, yeah.
Close enough. I was trying to remember, okay?
He's not averaging that on the season. That was last week. So,
I know.
To your point.
I know. I think it's still Leonard Fournette's backfield until otherwise he was more targeted. He was like Tom Brady trusts him. Tom Brady he's like Aaron Rodgers in the sense that he likes guys that he can trust, and Leonard Fournette is in that wheelhouse. That's my personal opinion.
And I can't disagree with some of those points. I will say this much: I probably should have prefaced it a little bit better instead of saying
but there's teams out there that have.
Fruit. I should have said this is more of a guy you can pick up free and clear right now. Play out of desperation in your flex.
And there's probably some people out there that are really desperate for running backs,
exactly why I'm bringing it up, and I'm glad you brought it up in those terms, because he's not the shiniest.
I like it.
He's not the greatest guy I'll talk about tonight. Let's put it
Okay, cool. Next guy. No, but you made some other good points about Leonard Fournette's injury. I disagree that he's maybe not quite 2021, but he still looks pretty good. Anyways, Chris Godwin is since we're talking about the Bucks, I will talk about Chris Godwin. It's Atlanta. You already said it, Chris. They're not very good. Last week versus the Chiefs, Chris Godwin played 55 snaps, only 3 less than Mike Evans. So he was out there pretty much the same amount as Mike Evans. Had the same number of targets as Mike Evans, 10. Ended up with 7 receptions for only 59 yards. Not that great. But Godwin's only played in 2 weeks this season. He has yet to score a touchdown, but I think that's coming this week. The Falcons are in a 5-way tie for giving up the second most touchdowns to opposing wide receivers. That would be 6 touchdowns to opposing wide receivers. And I just don't think the Falcons can generate enough pass rush to really get after Tom Brady, giving Brady more time to throw to Godwin and Evans this week too. I like them both this week, but I chose Godwin because I feel like Evans was kind of the more obvious guy, So I really like Chris Godwin this week. I think that, like I said, it was only he got 7 out of 10 targets last week. It was only for 59 yards. But the Chiefs are getting after Tom Brady. I don't think the Falcons are doing that this week. What's your next guy, Chris? What's your next guy? I know you really like Chris Godwin. You're a Chris Godwin fan, so.
No, yeah. He's. I've been off him with the injury and.
Well, it's hard to be on him when he tore his ACL last year. Like, I don't like Chris Godwin this week because he's in IR. But okay,
and the off season didn't he start on? No, he didn't start on PUP, but he was. He missed
might as well have
first couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah. So
no, he played in week 1 and then he missed weeks 2 and 3.
There you go. My bad.
Yeah.
So it's Bucks Chiefs this week. Was that correct?
No, that was last week.
Oh, sorry. That's right. That's why that. All right. Well, we're like you said, save my lowest hanging fruit. Doing it right.
Just say the next guy.
I can't do it, sir. Isaiah Pacheco. I'm going in opposite order. Apparently, I'm going with the 2.
Oh my God.
These names. Again, I should preface this by saying I even had a little thing typed up that I forgot to read off. That I was going to say, may I remind folks that our Fave 5 doesn't have to be a
in case of glass break eyes, Isaiah Pacheco. Jesus. Go ahead.
It could be a pickup and not start this week. It could be anything. It could be a bye week replacement. It could be an injury replacement. It could be a desperate flex like the previous guy, Rashad White.
Keep going.
Rolling your eyes harder.
I'm just keep going. Keep going.
I will. In the 2 games, Pacheco has played more than 20% of the snaps, which would be week 1 and week 4. He has received double-digit carries and averaged over 5 yards per carry. And he did it last week to the Buccaneers, arguably one of the better rush defenses in the league.
Fact.
Only giving up 14.2 fantasy points per game to RBs. That'll give a third best.
Mm-hmm.
He clearly has a role, and that role is to put games away with burst and a physical running style. This week, he gets the division rival Raiders. The Raiders are okay versus fantasy running backs, giving up the 12th most fantasy points per game to the running back position at 20.4. And 10th best in the league, and 10th best in the league in rushing yards surrendered. But they are 5th worst. Yeah, 10th best. Again, let me be clear. 10th best in the league in rushing yards surrendered. But they are 5th worst, having given up 5 rushing touchdowns on the year. The game is at Arrowhead, one of the toughest places to play. It's the highest over-under of the week at 50.5 points, and the Chiefs are favored by 6.5 points. All that is to say is I expect lots of points, and the Chiefs will take care of business at home, win handily, and give Pacheco a chance to put the game away.
Okay. So you're if I'm reading in between the lines, you think that there's a good chance he scores a touchdown this week?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Because he'll get said, 20% or 20% plus of snap share, and I believe it was double-digit carries.
Yeah, I mean, the only negative thing I have to say about that is that I wonder if
the Chiefs was very impressive last week.
Just what Okay. I didn't really watch that much of the game, so I'm just gonna agree to disagree with you. I'm like, I don't know.
I guess that's the easy pushback, is what I'd say.
No, I was gonna say is that I think it's just gonna be hard to really predict when these Chiefs running backs are. Which one's gonna be? Is it gonna be Jerick McKinnon? Is it gonna be Pacheco? Is it gonna be CEH? I don't know. I like your call. Like, you make good points. So I don't know. The Chiefs backfield just frustrates me with like a lot of things in fantasy football this year so far. So
like a lot of backfields.
Yeah. Anyways, on to my next guy. Speaking of the Chiefs, Chris Olave. Chris Olave, who doesn't play for the Chiefs. That's how
I was just so confused for a second. I wasn't going to say anything. I was like, or I was going to say something, and then I wasn't because you caught it.
Olave is the guy the Chiefs should have drafted. I don't think they had a chance, but Chris Olave is going to get up against the Seattle Seahawks. Michael Thomas didn't play that last week, and it's looking like he's probably there's a good chance he doesn't play again this week, which sucks for one of my fantasy teams, but that's okay. We all know that. Last week, Chris Olave got his first NFL touchdown. Olave so far has 3, 13, 13, and 7 targets on the season. He hasn't had a game with less than 3 receptions. He's leading the team in snaps. Even if Michael Thomas had played last week, Chris Olave still might have eclipsed his snap total. Olave just might be the new wide receiver 1 for the Saints. I'm thinking that he is, man. Andy Dalton might be the quarterback again this week, with it looking like Winnie being pretty questionable right now. Last week, Olave had the most receptions out of all the Saints receivers. And this week it is Seattle. They are not good. And I thought that this Olave thing might take some time to get going, because sometimes rookie wide receivers are not very good at first. They take time to get up to NFL speed. But man, we've talked about in weeks past about his, total air yards that he's been racking up. And I mean, like, Olave has been good, man. And he looked pretty good with it. Like I said earlier in the show, Andy Dalton looked pretty good last week as well. And against an okay to bad Seattle defense, if I knew Andy Dalton were playing this week, he would probably be my quarterback stream of the week, but he's not, so because I'm not quite sure yet. So I like Olave again this week, and unless it's a really rough matchup, I kind of like him moving forward. Like, he might just be like an every week flex, if not starter.
Yep. I put up a trade for him this week. It got shot down. So there's some context
dynasty or redraft.
Yeah. Dynasty.
Yeah, probably.
I already told you who I tried to trade with. Onward and upward. To your point, I'm going to save my low-hanging fruit for the middle, but since
we're right in the middle.
I know, so I'm gonna fudge it because I want to continue my theme. If you haven't noticed a theme of my guys yet, we're going to continue with what would technically not be the lowest hanging fruit, and then we'll get the guy. Okay, anyway. Dameon Pierce. Running back. Texans. Pierce has seen his rushing share and snap share increase each week, and all we've been looking for to perhaps start pushing the RB1 territory is receiving work. Well, it happened last week.
Are they playing they're playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. Okay,
yes,
sorry. Go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted.
Pierce was really good last week, too, for those listening.
Keep going.
A quick snapshot of these rush percentages and snap shares. Bear with me. This will be in order of week 1, rush percentage, 44%. Again, reminder, folks, that's the percentage of the running back rush attempts. Rush percent, 44%. Snap percent, 29%. Not pretty in week 1. Week 2, 100% of the rush attempts by running backs and a 62% snap share. Week 3, 87% of the rush attempts and a 59% snap share. Week 4, 100% of the rushes by running backs and a 68% snap share. With the Jags giving up the 8th most fantasy points per game to running backs at 22 per game, including 210 rushing yards to the Eagles last week, and allowing the 2nd most receptions and receiving yards to running backs, I love Dameon Pierce as a low-end RB1 this week.
Wow.
Yep. Put him in the lineups.
All right. Speaking of Dameon Pierce, on to Brandon Cooks, his teammate. They are both going up against Jacksonville since they are on the same team. Jacksonville is giving up the 22.1 points per game to the wide receiver position. That's 11th most in all of football. As much as I want Nico Collins to be a thing, I don't think David Mills can sustain two fantasy. I spelled two wrong there. Two fantasy viable wide receivers. Nico Collins is kind of in the mix there, here and there. But I just think that Cook's going to have a solid game this week. Last year, Cook scored 15.7 and 25.7 points against the Jags. And Davis Mills played in the latter of those two, the 25.7. The Jags might still be a slightly better defense this year than last year, but I still like Cooks to have himself a solid week for himself and for all of you as well. I know Davis Mills has not played that well this year. I think Brandon Cooks is quarterback proof. I would hate for this year to be the year that breaks his streak of 1,000 receiving yards. You know what I'm saying?
I am on board with that. I think he has shown us more or less that he is quarterback proof throughout his career. Excuse me. On to the low-hanging fruit, the aforementioned that we're kind of not putting in the middle. Jeff Wilson. Running back for the 49ers.
Okay.
The Panthers have given up the 8th most rushing yards this season and rank 15th, so middle of the pack, in fantasy points per game given up to the running back position. That's 19.3 per game, which, again, isn't awful. But Jeff Wilson has been seeing a high-level usage and a nose for the end zone in place of Elijah Mitchell. In 2020, 2021, and through the 4 weeks of this season, anytime Jeff Wilson sees at least 12 carries, he either scores or gets 100 yards 85% of the time. That would be 11 out of 13 times. I like Wilson as an RB1 this week. Simple.
Cool. I don't know if you're watching me there. It was the face I was making was not at you. I was watching the Thursday night football game, and I want to throw my tablet so bad.
No, I mean, I kind of was.
It's pitiful.
I assume you're shaking my head every time my mouth is moving, sir.
No, I'm not at you. I'm watching this, and I'm like, it's just pitiful.
No,
anyways,
it's just like you said. He's my low hanging fruit. He's my smash play. I mean, he's no RB1 has been that overwhelming, except for like Saquon for the first couple weeks or something. Like it's been kind of Cook,
Saquon and
Eckler finally for week 4. Like so,
but even then, it's been Nick Chubb and Saquon, and that's been it.
So yeah, I see Wilson as a top 12 guy easy this week.
Is it mainly because of matchup?
It has a lot to do with matchups, yes, sir.
Okay. I'm like, I don't.
But
think
he's also been scoring double-digit fantasy points every week.
Yeah, he just doesn't look very good when I watched him. I'm like, okay.
I think he's a good red zone guy. I think that's all he's pretty much done. Yes, he's been a backup. Literally, he's been a backup. So.
And I think he plays like a backup.
But that's what backups do. They play when the guy's hurt. That's what he's doing. He's a pretty good backup.
Okay, so no. I'm not trying to say that it's a bad call. I've just personally, like, having watched a bunch of 49ers games already this year, I'm just like, Jeff Wilson just looks average, you know? And so that's why I was like, do you think it's bad matchup, or do you actually think Jeff Wilson's the bee's knees? And you're saying matchup, so I can definitely get down with that.
Yep.
All right, cool. My last guy, this is a kind of a bold call. So Chris, I don't listen to a lot of fantasy football podcasts or shows throughout the week or whatever. I check in on some articles here and there, mainly for validation, because we are, quote, amateurs. We don't get paid for this, so we're in the amateur status, whatever. I like to think that we're mildly entertaining, at least, and provide some good information, but we don't get paid for it. We do this for free. But it's from some of these quote experts. They have I've been seeing, like, don't play your Packers against the Giants, especially in the passing game, so on and so on. So this is
this a little bit. Yeah, this is a good point. Yep.
Yeah. So here I'm going to go against the grain a little bit on this one. I'm calling Romeo Doubs a start this week.
Okay.
They're playing the Giants. The Giants are actually third best versus the wide receivers position this year. But here's the teams they've played so far and their wide receiver cores. The Titans in week 1, The Panthers, bad. The Cowboys, not that bad. Surprisingly, with Cooper Rush. And then last week against the Bears, gross. Aaron Rodgers and Dobbs and Lazard are taking on the G-men in London. And over the last 2 weeks, Dobbs has 2 touchdowns, 13 of 16 targets for 120 yards. So that's averaging a touchdown, 60 yards, and about 6.5 receptions over the last 2 weeks. I wish that yardage was a little bit higher, but Aaron Rodgers is looking for him, short, medium, long. I like Dobbs, man. I think that he's maybe not the burner that Christian Watson is, but he's still a good receiver, a decent enough receiver at least. And I think you can start him against the Giants. And I think that there's a good chance that Aaron Rodgers makes this Giants defense look like the scrubs that they potentially are. I was very surprised when I saw this stuff about bench don't play Aaron Rodgers this week. Bench your Packers wide receivers. I was like,
I know one of those weeks
really?
The Giants played a Dak-less Cowboys. Yes, they lost to the Cowboys, and the Cowboys, Cooper Rush and Cooper Rush and all that, but it was against Cooper Rush and the Cowboys. It wasn't against Aaron Rodgers and the Packers.
It wasn't against Dak and as much as bad as Dak looked.
Full complement of exactly.
But I mean, the Bears, that's gross. The Panthers,
they're
also gross.
They're awful.
The Titans, who just had a rookie Treylon Burks. I'm not even sure if he played in Week 1, and then a Robert Woods coming off of an ACL. That's not a murderer's row of teams that they went up against. They didn't go up against the Chiefs, the Bucks, insert other good team in there.
Yeah. I think some of their logic is off the top of my head is I think the Giants have a pretty good pass rush. I think that rookie's getting healthy, Thibodeau. So that's kind of where that's Thibodeau. Thank you. That's where their logic lies. My last guy of the evening at the running back position as a Fave 5 for your flexible positions is Ramondre Stevenson. He has looked good as of late. Averaging.
I was hoping that you would put in at least a Patriots running back into this, and you did. Thank you.
No problem. He's been averaging 95 all-purpose yards and a half a touchdown over the last 2 games. Granted, small sample size, that's fine. And he gets the Lions this week. By far and away the worst defense in the league, no matter how you slice it. They're giving up the second most fantasy points to the running back position at 28.4 per game. The third most rushing yards in the league, and giving up an average of 2.5 rushing touchdowns per game. Mac Jones is trending in, but I honestly wonder if it matters. Detroit is so bad. Ramondre is a high-end flex for me this week, so I kind of, he's not a guy you gotta get in your lineup, but yeah, high-end flex for me.
I think it's a week where you should maybe try to get him in your lineup.
He might. To Josh's point, he might be more of an RB2 this week, given the landscape of running back injuries.
It also depends on your team, and if you have Dalvin
Cook. It is pre-bye weeks though.
Saquon, and I don't know. I'm making up another. And you have 3 good receivers. Stumbled into a good receiver off the Chris Olave, and I'm struggling to come up with things 5 weeks into the season.
Yeah, he's definitely.
I'm very tired.
He's definitely in the discussion this week. Top 36. In fact, I think a little more highly than that. I'm just playing it safe. Flexible guy.
Let's on to the tight ends because people need tight ends.
Oh my gosh, yes they do. You're going first in, right, buddy?
I'll go first. My first tight end. This might sound a little obvious after last week, but TJ Hawkinson, he was extremely disappointing up until last week. But I think he'll be balling again this week. Amon-Ra St. Brown, DJ Chark, and Swift are all questionable again this week. Sounds like we covered this in the noon segment, but it sounds like Chark might play. I'm not sure that Swift or Amon-Ra St. Brown play this week. If I were to bet money on it, I would say they're both sitting out this week. I don't think we did discuss it. The Lions have a bye week 6. Did we mention it? We kind of mentioned it a little bit earlier. I can't remember. And we'll talk about that more in a second. If both receivers of the podcast, Lions have a bye coming up. If both receivers end up missing again, I think Hawkinson. No, it's good. Hawkinson is in for a big day again. Even if they do play, the Patriots are giving up the 5th most points to tight ends. They've allowed 5 touchdowns through the first 4 weeks to the tight end position. And that is 1 per game, over 1 per game. In case you're doing the math, 1.25 to be exact. So I say Hawkinson is a must start again this week. And I threw him in there because, after those first 3 weeks, man, like, surely last week you were kind of like, well, you probably started Hawkinson, but I bet a lot of people that had Hawkinson on their team definitely went out and grabbed a second tight end just in case.
Yeah, he's been disappointing up to that point. Yeah, I included him for the exact same reasons. All I have to add is of those, I believe you said 5 touchdowns over 4 weeks. They just gave up 1 touchdown last week to the corpse of Robert Tonyan. I thought there was another one. Oh, that's a different player that I have a reference like that about a corpse. I have my Patriots giving up the wrong amount of fantasy points apparently because maybe I didn't do half point. But yeah. Oh, and Hawkinson went off caught 8 of his 12 targets for 179 yards and 2 touchdowns last week. As a kind of a snapshot of his season, not his season, recency bias, he's now scored 3 touchdowns in the last 2 games. So yeah, he scored 1 the week before last.
I'm sorry, Chris. Did you say something about Robert Tonyan?
Yeah, I said he scored a touchdown.
Yeah, well, Robert Tonyan happens to be my second tight end this week. He's like you mentioned, he scored a touchdown last week.
Like you said, he's a corpse. So that's my other guy, Hawkinson. Sorry.
Tonyan has actually looked pretty good out there. He doesn't look like how some people come back from an ACL injury and they look like they're kind of hobbling around a little bit. Tonyan looks good. He really does. He only had 2 targets last week, caught both of them. Yes, one was for a touchdown. So it wasn't a lot of usage. Once again, the Packers getting the Giants, who haven't really faced a potent offense so far this year. I mean, going back to the teams they play, the Titans, they don't have a viable tight end really. The Panthers, nope. The Cowboys, pretty sure Dalton Schultz was out of that game. In fact, I know he was. And the Bears, who Cole Kmet, I'm not sure has a single fantasy point yet this year. So once again, look at the teams the talent they've faced. Not really much of anything at all. So I think if you're looking for a tight end to stream this week, why not stick with Robert Tonyan again if you played him last week? You're looking for a tight end. Tonyan, according to PFF, he gets the 6th best tight end matchup going up against safety Julian Love. Tonyan also has a target on 19% of his routes, which may not sound like a lot, but that's 12th most of all tight ends. So that's not bad. And, like I said, he's been coming back from the ACL injury, so I bet he gets even more work as the season goes along. And why not this week, too? Maybe Alan Lazard is a little banged up. And Tonyan gets a little bit more work, Who's your last guy, Chris?
My last guy at the tight end position is Jawan Johnson of the New Orleans Saints. A little bit of a deep dive here. Let's get this out of the way. For the first time all year, Adam Troutman played more snaps than Jawan Johnson last week.
I almost texted you last week. I was like, there's Troutman.
65% to Jawan Johnson's 48%. For the first time all season.
And last year and the year before that.
No, but Jawan still ran more routes and over the course of the season has received 3 red zone targets to Troutman's 1. Both have 1 red zone touchdown on the season, given Troutman's performance last week. He got his first touchdown on his first red zone target. The Seahawks are absolute worst versus tight ends, giving up the most fantasy points per game to the tight end position at 25.2, and were just torched by the aforementioned TJ Hawkinson. But just in case you think that was it, like meaning Hawkinson was it. They had Kyle Pitts. They gave up Kyle Pitts 1 good game in week 3. They gave up a touchdown to Ross Dwelley, San Francisco, in week 2. Sans Kittle.
The George Kittle handcuff.
Yep, exactly. When Kittle was not playing. And week 1 gave up 5 catches to Albert O, who has done absolutely nothing since.
Yeah.
Michael Thomas is going to be out again, as far as I can tell from the news segment. And Kamara is probably back, but we can all agree he's banged up, right? I think.
I know I didn't put it in the news segment because
he's good.
It's like I don't even think he has an injury.
He has no designation.
Yeah, I think he's suited up. He's ready to go, dude. He's like.
I think he looked banged up last week. I think he looked banged up last week. I'll put it that way. So I think they send some of the targets Johnson's way, and he gets some red zone looks as well, which should be good enough for a tight end dart throw here in 2022.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I don't mind that at all.
know.
Man.
When I typed that up, I was like, I can't put it any better. It's just, it is what it is, Chris. He's you got.
It's gonna be, and you know what? His name will probably pop up in a few weeks again. Because why not? Like it's the tight end position. If you swung in, like say you drafted Albert O like late in the draft, you just completely punted tight end and you drafted Albert O. Well, that didn't work. You're taking these swings. You're hoping for that touchdown.
You're taking these cuts because you love those baseball references.
Yeah, it's just.
Yeah,
it is what it is. Exactly. I don't mind that. I don't mind that one bit, man.
Oh yeah, I love it. I think it's one of my favorite ones. You kind of, me and you, man. We fall in love with the sleepers and the deep dives and the this and that. It's like the frowns I got for Pacheco and Rashad White in the running back segment. I was like, this is supposed to be more of a startable guy, Chris. But I was like, I don't know. Maybe keep your eye on these guys and pick them up if you got a spot.
Hey man, if anything, like you said,
there's a lot of people dropping Javonte.
Well, in redraft, what's the point of hanging on to him?
I'm pretty sure. Which league did I have him in? Our league? Maybe?
I don't remember. I don't know.
Anyway, point is, there's a league that I dropped him for. Oh, gosh, who was it? Todd White? Yeah, I like what I saw. I think he's going to be used.
I believe that was in our Friends with Benefits league.
Benefits league. Yep, sir. Okay, so we got what we got left. We got quarterback.
Yep. Chris, my quarterback stream of the week is. Can you guess who it is?
Jameis Winston.
It is Teddy Bridgewater.
God dang it. Okay, hey, good. I got some guys to talk about. All right.
We didn't cover this in the news segment. I'm sorry, I forgot to put it in. But Tua was ruled out on Monday for Week 5. Teddy gets a full week of first team reps.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And he's going to be getting the Jets. Normally, I wouldn't be in on Teddy, but Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill are the types of receivers that can take Teddy's dinks and dunks and turn them into big plays, especially against the soft Jets D. Teddy came in and took over for Tua last week. Yeah. Last Thursday, completing 60.8% of his passes for 193 yards and 1 touchdown. Yes, an interception was in there too. But I like Tua this week, or Teddy this week, against the Jets. I thought that was the low-hanging fruit right there, and apparently it wasn't.
All right. Well, we'll talk about some of these names later and an asking for a friend. Let me get on to my quarterback. I almost said sleeper. A streamer of the week, one Trevor Lawrence. Lawrence's favorite receiver is Christian Kirk. He plays primarily out of the slot. The Texans slot corner is Desmond King. He was PFF's 119th ranked cornerback last year. Yeah, I was like, question mark, go Hawks. I said that in the wrong order. Sorry. And they haven't faced a slot wide receiver of Kirk's caliber, not even close yet this year. Last year in Lawrence's first NFL start, Lawrence torched the Texans for 332 yards and 3 touchdowns. We don't need to talk about the second start against the Texans last year. I like Lawrence as a streamable QB1 this week. Again, dude, he played the Eagles last week. I'm just chalking it up to that. If you're looking at the box scores and whatnot, I think he looked pretty good in week 1 and week 2 as, again, a borderline QB1 type of guy, a weekly streamable guy. So that's what he is for me this week.
I don't mind it one bit. Chris, I have don't start this guy, but I'm really rooting for him, and I already talked about him earlier. It is Bailey Zappi. You think that Max playing? I don't think he's gonna play this week.
I think they're gonna limited session today, didn't he? I thought.
Yeah, he might play. I don't know. I think that they should probably look at Zappi again. He played okay. Anyways, Chris, why don't you?
Do you have
another
guy? I don't know if it matters if it's Mac Jones or not.
Do you have another guy?
I can give you my sleeper of the same position, quarterback, if you'd like. Get that out of the way. I have Jameis Winston.
The guy who might not play this week.
I like to include it. I was looking to include him as an honorable mention / sleeper / streamer. Let's just put it that way. If he plays,
really riding that fence.
Yeah. No. Well, hey, he's out there. Dude, it's like, what's the difference between the 11th quarterback in one's weekly rankings, 10th or 11th quarterback, and like their 14th guy? It's like,
Vast differences,
One
canyons,
1.0
oceans,
points. Yeah, no, you're wrong.
oceans,
The exact opposite.
deserts.
So Jameis,
Deserts difference.
he plays
Okay.
Seattle. If he plays, he's a little banged up. That's important to keep that in mind, folks. I think Josh mentioned Andy Dalton, their backup, a little bit earlier in the show. Seattle gives up the 6th most fantasy points to the quarterback position per game, points per game, and the 4th most passing yards in the league, and just gave up 378 yards and 4 touchdowns to Jared Goff and the Lions. Jameis Winston.
Okay.
Might be a QB1 this week.
Assuming he plays.
Assuming he plays.
Yeah.
For the 4th time.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't. I'm sorry. I didn't hear you
That's
say
okay.
that.
I'm messing with you. I didn't say it though.
My sleeper is a guy who Chris would not help if he fell down. He would throw him a bucket of water if he was drowning.
I saw the note on Sleeper. If this is who I think you're talking about, I didn't know you could put notes like as a commish.
Oh yeah, I can. Did you see that for a player?
Yep. I can't believe you were going to wait until I just came across it at random.
I can't believe it was never mentioned. Anyways, my sleeper this week is Robert Woods.
Oh, okay.
Going up against.
It's like Robert Woods.
Robert Woods, you hated him preseason. Anyways, going up against the Commanders this week, who are giving up the most points to the wide receiver position in fantasy football, of over 33 points per game to wide receivers. The group as a whole, of course. As I mentioned in the news, you mentioned, Treylon Burks is out with turf toe and is potentially for weeks. In comes Bobby Woods. I like him this week. He's one of the really only viable options for the Titans this week. So I think that if you're looking for a guy that you need a spot start, Robert Woods, everyone. Robert Woods.
All right.
He scored 10 double-digit points the last 2 weeks.
Oh, that's not bad. You piqued my interest.
So, that has been our regular show. Stay tuned for, if you are listening to the podcast version, please check out the stream, 8 p.m. every Thursday, Central Standard Time. Chris, where can they find you on the social medias?
They can find me. I have it right here. At AFFB Chris.
And I am at Josh AFFB, and I know my Twitter handle. Apparently, he doesn't.
I just don't know it, actually.
Did you see that? Okay, I was giving you.
I blanked. I was like, I have the script
yeah,
right here.
You did. I didn't even have to see your face. I'm like, oh man, he totally forgot it.
Right here,
anyway,
I forgot it. I had to click on it.
Tune into the Sunday morning stream. We start at 10 a.m. Sunday mornings, right?
Correct. 10 a.m. Central Time. Yes, sir.
Where you at last minute injury news, and you can ask us some last minute lineup questions, and maybe just kind of hang out and chat about this, that, or another thing. We kind of go off the rails sometimes. Definitely, we talk a lot about football because we both like football a lot, but we definitely go off the rails on Sunday mornings and sometimes on Thursday nights too. But that has been our regular show. But stay tuned if you are watching the stream. Stay tuned. We will have some questions. We have some talk about some bye week potential pickups for next week. So yeah, we'll talk about it more probably on the Sunday stream as well, in case you missed it. So until Sunday morning or next week, however, we have been amazing fantasy football, and good luck.
Goodbye. All right, stream viewers, let's get on to some questions. I got one ready to fire off, just right off the heels of what we were just discussing. Trevor Lawrence, Teddy, or Jameis Winston?
I'm not convinced Jameis plays, so I'm going
your own stream.
Teddy, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
For sure. I don't have any questions.
How about in hindsight, it's probably looking good. Was going to do until I realized he played tonight. A Trevor Lawrence.
What?
Trevor Lawrence or Russell Wilson? Who's playing right now?
Trevor
that's
Lawrence.
why I
The
wasn't
way
gonna
Russ
include
has been playing.
Wait, I wasn't gonna include it, but you were like, I don't have any. I was like, I got
Russ had
some
some good throws, like at that last play that was a drop. There was a good
But the
defensive play by the Colts at one point.
Right, but it was 2 field goals last time I checked, so not looking
Yeah,
too nice. Here's a bit more of a in-depth one at a different position other than quarterback. Thank goodness. Pick 2. This is several names, so bear with me. Pick 2: DJ Moore.
Nope.
Romeo Doubs.
Yep.
George Pickens. Jacoby Myers. Or Zay Jones.
Dubs and Zay Jones.
Okay. I included him on Raw for injury's sake. I chose not to mention when I just did this. So now, like, you're literally not playing DJ Moore.
No.
Under any circumstance. Wow.
Who are they playing this week?
I'm thin at receiver in that league. The Panthers play the 49ers.
The 49ers. Yeah, definitely not.
Good point.
49ers are they're a pretty good defense this year.
And I'm sorry, you said Pickens and Dubs, right?
No, I said Zay Jones, but Pickens was very close. I don't like the Steelers. I don't like the Steelers matchup this week with a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, Bills. Oh, good point.
So
I really didn't have many options. And by me, I mean not me.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever. Let's talk. Okay. So next week is our first week of bye weeks, right? Right.
Week 6. Yep. Next week. Yep.
Lions. So here's the teams that are on bye. Teams that are on bye are the Detroit Lions, the Las Vegas Raiders, the Houston Texans, and the Tennessee Titans. So you're looking at quarterbacks that you will not have to play are Jared Goff, who is like a top 5 quarterback at this very moment.
There's teams that are leaning on Goff, no doubt.
Yeah. David Carr, he's more of a weekly streamer, and then Davis Mills and Ryan Tannehill, who you're probably not leaning on all that much, but those are the quarterbacks.
Unless it's talking super flex, yeah.
So I picked up. I didn't look at roster percentages or anything, but some guys that I figured were probably out there in some free agencies that you could look at to pick up right now for next week to fill in for your Derek Carrs or your Jared Goffs. I was thinking maybe Jimmy G. He's playing the Falcons. That's a good one. That's a good matchup right there. Jimmy G's been okay. Or Geno Smith versus the Arizona Cardinals. That's a good matchup right there for Geno Smith.
Cardinals have been bad.
Yes, Cardinals have been very bad.
Is that as all you got? Is those 2? Do you mind if I mention one?
Yes. No, I mean, no, I don't mind. Damn it.
You actually misspoke. I genuinely think you misspoke, but I honestly thought you were playing a joke on me there for a second. How about Danny Dimes versus the Ravens secondary?
That's next week?
Mm-hmm.
That is.
I'm looking at the week 6 schedule, so I only see teams.
I would like if you're looking at right now, you're kind of crossing your fingers that Kadarius Toney and Wan'Dale Robinson and I can't remember the other guy, Richie James. Rich James. I think that you're hoping that they're all healthy, and even if they're not, even if 2 out of those 3 are,
and it could be a Saquon day too. It could be a garbage time.
Yeah.
15 dump offs to freaking Saquon and he takes a screen to the house or something. Like it could literally be and in particularly with Danny Dimes is his legs. He can get it done on the ground too, for sure.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
So I like all 3 of those.
That's not a bad one. That's not a bad one at all.
Are you going by position here, sir, if you mind me asking?
Yes, of course. That's how I always do things. So running backs that you will be potentially missing next week or will be missing is DeAndre Swift, who's currently injured, but he's not going to be playing at all next week. So whatever.
Why we think he's not playing. Yeah, we think
DeAndre Swift, Jamal Williams, Josh Jacobs is a surprising RB1 really at the moment, I believe, and Derrick Henry. So there's potential that you could be missing like your 3 starting running backs right there. There's teams out there that are like, oh boy, look at this. So I came up with 2 and one's a stretch. So you're gonna have to bear with me on this one.
Yeah.
Latavius Murray,
Yeah.
he just got picked. The Broncos just signed him off of the Saints practice squad.
Yep.
He's getting up there in age and everything, but I don't think Mike Boone's the guy that they really want to be rolling out there. And I think Latavius Murray is definitely an option that he's not active for this game tonight, Thursday night football game.
Again next week. Yep, week
but
6,
but he will be next week, and I think he's going to be in the mix a little bit. So. I'm sorry. The Broncos are playing
behind Gordon, right? Yeah, is what you're saying.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that.
Sure
they're playing the Chargers next week, who are giving up the 4th most points to running backs.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the one that I have that's going to be a stretch, but go out there and check because it might be available in your league. Elijah Mitchell. He should be coming off of IR at any second now. Like he was eligible to come off, like I think this week.
You think
maybe it's next week? What?
Think you'll be able to play him next week?
I said he's eligible to come off IR this week or next.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, all he had was what did he have, like sprained his ankle or something? Like it wasn't anything super serious. So,
my rosters.
You know, like what's that?
I should know he's on one of my rosters, but I can't recall.
Yeah, he's on one of mine too. He's on a couple of my rosters actually. But I mean, I'm just saying, like, there's potential that someone dropped him just because they're like, well, I mean, I can't play this guy and I need to pick up someone, so I might as well drop him. Hopefully I can pick him up like when he gets closer to him coming back, you know.
It was a knee. MCL sprain to be specific.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's not that bad. So that's something that you can easily bounce back from. So yeah, well, just check out, see if Elijah Mitchell's out there. I think most leagues nowadays are rolling with IR spots that you can put out players in and everything, but just in case, man, like I bet there's a chance he is out there in leagues.
Oh, for sure. I'm in a league where I have not dropped him, to be clear, but we have 7 bench spots instead of 6, but we do not have an IR. So he's rostered in 77% of leagues. So that's that's only 23% that is available. That just means he's out there.
Yeah,
he's out there. Yep.
That's a greater than 0 number.
Was that your second guy? Am I correct?
Yes. It was really hard. I was scraping the bottom of the barrel for running back.
I was trying not to interrupt you, but it's RBs, and it's going to be
for wide receivers, the guys that you could potentially you're going to be missing: Javonte Adams, Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and DJ Chark. Guys that you could potentially pick up this week to start next week, or at least think about starting. I have a combination of Jamal Agnew / Zay Jones. I have a slash there because Zay Jones was kind of injured when I was looking at this.
Right.
And they're going up against the Colts next week, so that's a pretty good matchup. Another guy, Christian Watson. We just briefly touched on him earlier with the Packers. He's kind of their deep ball guy, and that's up against the Jets, so it's a good matchup. Another guy. This is ugly, and so try to contain your vomit. Get your barf bag out here, Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Darnell Mooney going up against the aforementioned Washington Commanders, who are giving up the most points to the wide receiver position.
Maybe they fire their coach by then, and then I'm just kidding. Yeah, hey, it's a deep dive. I have a guy to throw in here at receiver. If I recall correctly, I might have flirted with. No, I had RBs this week. Anyway. Jacoby Myers, receiver, Patriots. I think he's going to be back this week. I think he actually has a nice matchup this week, week 5, to be clear, which is the Lions. Again, remember you said include a RB for the Patriots. Well, their Lions are really bad versus the pass also. Anyway, week 6. Week 6, the Patriots do get the Browns, but again, maybe we're looking at a healthy Mac Jones by then. I know their offense has not been impressive, but he's a target magnet. He's your poor man Deontay Johnson, although Deontay Johnson wasn't great last week. And anyway, I like Jacoby Myers as a guy, since a couple of guys you mentioned are kind of like not necessarily run out and make sure you have him in week 6 to get through your bye, but you might want to start by looking at the buys to come. And these guys are getting healthy. These guys, quarterbacks are getting healthy. These guys might have decent matchups in the coming weeks. So I like Jacoby Myers for sure.
Yep. Cool. That's all I got. I didn't really do tight end because I'm like, well, if you're streaming tight end, then
we've already we do a segment every week.
Yeah.
specifically sleeper tight ends, because that's what a lot of us have to start.
And I want to touch on this like a little bit next week too, of like, you
Mhm.
know, hey, here's some guys you can start. And, you know, I got to say, if you for some reason have Amon-Ra St. Brown and like Derrick Henry and Josh Jacobs, and, you know, like half of your starting lineup is on bye week this week,
Yeah.
you might just have to take the lumps and take the loss. You're probably sitting okay. You're probably sitting at 3-1 or something like that right now.
For sure.
And just take your loss for week 6, and then most of your bye weeks are out of the way, and you're golden. You know,
remember the Pickens, Dubs, DJ Moore, blah blah blah, asking for a friend. I have Amon-Ra in all my redraft leagues, so I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna have Amon-Ra. And yeah, I had just picked up Pickens, and Dubs is still out there. It's a 10 team league, as you know, and I was just like, what can I do here? So yeah, to your point, if you're, you know, you just gotta start somebody.
Yep.
And I'm only 2-2, so. So
now all these guys that we just listed that are going to be out next week because it's their bye, after next week, it's time to trade for them. Like Amon-Ra St. Brown, yeah, you're going to be paying a lot for him, but he's already had his bye week, so therefore you can dump all your guys that are going to be on buys, you know?
Yep. Maybe you've got a disappointing wide receiver one that you've been kind of looking to have a good week and get rid of.
Have the guy who has the sun god on his team take the lumps with the bye week and then trade for him afterwards. And there you go. Or if you are a non-contender and you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, use that as a selling point of why you're asking more for him. He's already had his bye. You don't have to worry about it. I had to worry about it, you know?
I hate to harp on the Lions, but you make a really good point. The fact that they're a prolific offense, first and foremost.
Weirdly.
Yeah, well, and B, the fact that they have a horrible defense contributes somewhat to the fact that they are going to have to put points up to win games, or points up in comeback mode.
It's true.
And the fact that they have a week 6, the first bye of the year. Yeah, target. You might be. Swift is the name I want to mention. You might be able to buy low on a Swift manager right now. They must be frustrated.
Oh yeah.
Man. That's probably more salient point than Amon-Ra, I think, just because the position and the injuries have just been. And going back last year to Swift's injury, at least Amon-Ra has been knock on wood, a really stable guy as far as that goes in the early going in his career until now.
And Swift is going to get that injury label of, he's often injured. I'm like, yeah, he gets nicked up. I would rather have that than
I'm not saying buy low. Yeah.
I would rather have a guy who misses a game here and there versus a guy who misses giant chunks of time, George Kittle.
Yeah.
You know, it's only been 2 weeks so far this year, but man, George Kittle has not been effective so far this year. Speaking of tight ends that are a little busty at the moment, George Kittle. Anyways,
let's finish it up. No, you're good. You're good. It's more local league talk. What do we got to close up shop there, sir? Nothing much. Just check the links below. I forgot to include them.
Yeah.
Again, Josh, that's 2 weeks in a row. Or was that a Sunday stream? Either way, I forgot it 2 weeks in a row. My apologies. The links are not in the description. I think I can go back and edit it, though, after the fact. So the links are in the description. And no,
I'm not going to put them in. I'm not going to be like, it's all Chris's fault.
No, I can go in at any time.
Not if I change the password.
Yeah, let's rock that ship. In the middle of season, we'll be scrambling in week 6. Oh,
I changed the password. I don't remember what to change it to. Crap.
We've got so many buys to talk about. Anyway, yes. Please follow us on. I'm sorry, I can't even talk anymore. Follow us on Twitter. I am at Chris AFFB. Maybe
I am at Josh AFFB.
I just messed it up.
You did. I just realized it once I said mine. I'm like,
I should have made you go first.
He's drunk. Leave him alone.
I am not that. I've still got that much drink left. I'm not that drunk. Anyway, join our Discord. Follow us on Twitter. He is at Josh AFFB. I am at AFFB Chris. Check out our podcast. As we mentioned earlier in the show, we're here for weekly advice, whether we're live on Thursdays or Sundays or just chilling in the Discord or on Twitter. Let us know.
Chilling like a villain. All right.
Until then,
let's get the hell out of here.
All right.